question. Very good ideas there. So what we're looking for is that could be held. And this is the issue. Services prices continue to inflate at a price inconsistent with inflation return the midpoint. That's the main risk of all of this, right? And it's just summarized there on the cheat sheet. So we'll just take a look at technically, and then we've got some decisions to make, essentially. So this R1 pivot point, I'm keeping an eye on technically. Right? I want to see that break, really. If we can break up through there, great. And if we can start taking up that nose, that's great. That does put us onto that target of 1.108. The slight difficulty here is at the moment we are holding up under that R1 pivot point. As we did yesterday, if you remember, we held under that same pivot point yesterday. The S1 pivot point, we just held. We had the pullback. Little technical lesson. You can see why that 10865 was the legitimate area for stops, because that was the sort of first near-term risk area. We had a break of that trend line. That trend line essentially held. Okay, we had a pullback, but it's held. We just had stops the other side of the trend line, 10865. Right, so this should be absolutely fine. But remember, with the cheat sheet, I said when we were going into that inflation expectations, you would have moved your stop back below 10840 anyway, because that was like an intraday stop. But you can still see that technically it was a solid level. And then we had the pickup in the Aussie New Zealand dollar, as you'd expect on those weaker inflation forecasts, which is kind of like was reasonable to anticipate. So that was all absolutely fine. Now, if we can start breaking above this R1 pivot point, that's excellent news. And we are on the front foot this morning. Okay, so we're moving through the daily pivot point. We didn't manage to get to the pivot point yesterday for obvious reasons, because we had the pullback. And we're expecting Aussie New Zealand dollar dip buyers. That's the whole premise of all of this. And technically, we've got the 200 exponential moving average holding, that daily trend line holding, okay, underneath that 10840. So I'm just going to see how this plays out through the rest of the session. Okay, we've got a fairly decent resistance level, which is what we're running into here. Okay, ran into it yesterday, running into it today. If we can break above that, then we start to get an opportunity to move towards that 1.1017 target area. Okay, that is not an unreasonable target to be looking for. Okay. Right, that's the Aussie New Zealand dollar. I'll be keeping an eye on that throughout the day. Just technically, the thing to watch is if we start moving back below this pivot point, okay, that would be a little bit of a concern to me. But for now, I want to see this. If we can get a bullish close on the daily chart, that just keeps it all alive for me. And ideally, a break and close above 10950 just opens up a fresh run to there.